Okay, we're good to go.
All right, 8 o'clock. Yes. Okay, Rhonda. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's the May 26th, 2020 Berners Township Committee meeting. The first order of business is the flag salute. As we've been doing in the past with the virtual, I'm going to ask one member of our Township Committee to recite it out loud while the rest of us recite it to ourselves. So, Ms. Harris, you have been so kind to volunteer tonight.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. All right. Notice was provided that meetings are being conducted through virtual means due to COVID-19 outbreak until further notice in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act on May 4th, 2020, and updated on May 22nd. Such a notice was posted on the Township website, the Township Facebook page, and provided by email to the Recorder Publishing Burnsville News, Whippany, the Courier News, Bridgewater, tapinto.net, patch.com, and filed with the Township Clerk. Any motion to go into closed session will be deemed to include a motion that the matters discussed at such closed session will be disclosed to the public when such matters are finally determined and there is no further reason to prohibit the public disclosure of information relating to such matters. Public comment. Public comment is being accepted at this virtual meeting from Bernards Township residents via email to municipalclerk@bernards.org during this public comment period. Due to the meeting constraints of a virtual meeting, we request that comments be limited to the current agenda items. When it's time for public comment to address the body, please email your name, address, and comments to, again, municipalclerk@bernards.org at this time, and they will be read into the record. Can I get a roll call, please, Rhonda?
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Ms. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Fields?
Here.
Mayor Baldessari?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, just go down the list. Next item up is executive session. We do not have executive session tonight. Public work session is next. There's nothing on the agenda for that, Rhonda?
No.
We do not
this evening.
have any reports. Correspondence? None.
None this evening.
To public comment. So once again, I'm going to open up public comment. Public comment is being accepted as this virtual meeting from Bernards Township residents via email to municipalclerk@bernards.org during this public comment period. Due to the meeting constraints of a virtual meeting, we request that comments be limited to current agenda items. To address this body, please email your name, address, and comments to municipalclerk@bernards.org at this time, and they will be read into the record. We're going to allow for, I guess, a sufficient amount of time to go by to see if we get a lot of the emails or comments that are coming in. But just know that if we decide to move on in the agenda, we will come back to those comments in the second portion of public comment, and we will address those later if you don't make it on time to this one. So with that being said, public comment is now open.
Okay, I do have a comment. This is from Lori Albee. Did not give an address. Dear Mayor and Township Committee members, hope you all had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. The ceremony yesterday was. My question tonight to you all is, why are we making it so difficult to host some wonderful fundraising opportunities in town? To mention two that I've been made aware of, both happen to be standing Basking Ridge residents who both first came to the township first to discuss the partnership. The names of the groups are Boxcar and Feed to Give. It's unfortunate that Basking Ridge wasn't able to afford them the same opportunity all of our surrounding towns are. Helping the community with chicken and produce and donating to the food bank, they were so successful that they are doing them again in about 3 to 4 towns. I can't wrap my head around why it, and neither can a lot of community members I've gotten messages from. With the need growing at the food bank and YMCA here in our town, plus Bernardsville, I'd think we'd be the first one to step up and help, and it's disappointing. Can you discuss why these 2 community members were not permitted to do this here in our town? Thank you. Lori Albee. Okay, let me see. I think we have some more comments as well.
Well, Rhonda, I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to specifically address it at this time, but I would like to thank Lori for her comment, because then I don't have to make the comment. So I will thank, I think I mentioned Feed to Give at our last meeting. And I want to thank Warren, New Providence, and Watchung for finding a way to host those fundraisers, and they're doing them again. So Warren tomorrow, New Providence on June 3rd, and Watchung on June 10th. The only help Bernard's gave them was a citation and a court appearance. So thank you, Lori, for your comments.
If I can, Pat, would you care to weigh in on this one? I think there's some information in the background that there was maybe a reason or two that we couldn't go forward with this, but that if things were revisited, we'd be more than happy to be able to jump in and help, where we can. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate some insight on that.
Sure, Mayor. As we know, with all these restrictions and executive orders that come out, there's a lot of moving parts. At the time, there were negotiations with the health department, and there were some agreement as to what was going to happen. The issue at hand was the transfer of money, actual cash, and at the time, that was not a recommended practice. We'd be more than happy to have those conversations. We had an agreement. Similarly, a Boxcar had conversations with our health department, and things were going fine, and the owner was supposed to call in with the specifics of how they wanted to do the pickup. And then we hadn't heard anything else. So our health department has worked with both vendors. It's just a question of the actual agreement and what was in place at the time relative to cash being transacted in the parking lots.
I'll just mention that Feed to Give is trying to do a fundraiser in Long Hill Township, and we're stopping that as well because we're their health department. But so I really appreciate us going above and beyond to help these things happen as opposed to setting roadblocks.
And Mr. Esposito, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that if we can all come together, get on the same page and work towards a common ground and seeing something like this to happen. I mean, we clearly want to help all of our residents. We clearly want to be in a position to help out these fundraising activities. And I think that if we work with all of them and collectively and collaborating with our Board of Health in terms of setting things up accordingly, I don't see anybody that wants to see these things fail, especially in Bernards Township. So I would encourage everybody to get back, try and get back on the same page. And if Bernards Township can be a part of this, absolutely. If I want to make it happen just as much as everybody else does, because, we want to see people, be able to raise money for worthy causes and be able to help out going along. So I'm all for that. If there's anything that I can do, and I would, reach out maybe to Joan as our Board of Health representative liaison. Joan, if you wouldn't mind, I know the Board of Health already has, a lot on their plate, with all the other municipalities as well. But if there's something that we can do to help with that, we definitely want to be in a position to do that.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks.
Would anybody else care to add anything to that?
Joe, you work with one of these organizations?
It's one of my neighbors. So and they've raised over $20,000, fed thousands of people, donated food, time, resources. And the beautiful thing about it as well is that people in our town who are having trouble getting food. They're selling restaurant quality food at below retail prices, not price gouging, well below retail prices. So again, go to Fee to Give, Facebook website, participate in one of the fundraisers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to drive to Warren, New Providence, or Watchung to do it, but it's a great cause and a
Well,
great
Joe,
opportunity.
Joe, in
Can I
honesty,
finish, Mayor, can I finish asking him?
Yeah.
So Joe, so since you're involved in it, what do we need to do to be part of it, our town? Is it because they were taking cash and our town didn't accept that?
You know, that's a question for Pat and the health department, but clearly these other towns have found a way to work and make it happen.
Janice, at the time, the health department was notified that they had negotiated a settlement, and it was supposed to be just like all the other places that you can order food. I believe Boxcard does the same thing. You order online, you pay with a credit card, you pull up, somebody puts out. That was the agreement. On the day they showed up, it was going to be cash transactions, and with the social distancing, it would have been a violation of the executive order of the governor. I understand. I want this to happen. I thought it was a done deal. At the last minute, it didn't work out that way, and the health department had to interpret the executive orders, just like our OEM, the way it was. If another town did it differently, all I can say in Berners Township, this is the way that they were interpreted. I would love to work with these groups, have them contact us and see if we can make something work. Maybe they're doing it differently than they proposed in the beginning.
Okay.
I think regardless, I think we're all open to the idea of working with vendors such as these, as long as we make sure all the precautionary measures and everything are in place and that they conform to the executive orders that are currently in place. And if we can get it done, Joe, let's get it done. And you know, if you have some intimate knowledge about the business, about being a conduit to getting something like that done with your neighbor, listen, I encourage you. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen here in Berners Township.
That's good. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you.
And I also want to say thank you to Ms. Albee for bringing this to our attention, because we're not always aware of this and what's going on. I wasn't aware of this, and that we're shutting out an organization from participating in our town. So thank you for bringing it up, and hopefully we can fix it, Joe, together, all of us.
Okay, great. Thank you. What do we have next?
We have now another comment. Hold on a minute. Okay, this is from Todd Edelstein of Riverside Drive. Okay. First, there's a couple of questions. So number one, why is there no public hearing on the resolution 2020-0209 authorizing a shared services agreement? Since there is no public input on this resolution, I expect these questions to be answered. A, how much money are we saving by sending officers about 15 minutes away from town? B, was Long Hill Township contacted about shared court? If so, what was their response? And C, how will court overtime of the officers be affected? I'm sorry, how will court overtime for the officers be affected? I did read that. Okay, then a separate question. Number two, what is the story of the township computer system being captured by ransomware? A, what township systems were captured? How many have been recovered? And the cable channel is still out. B, what was the amount of the ransom being asked? And C, was the ransom paid, or did either rewrite operating programs? And if it did, what was the cost? I was under the illusion that IT was prepared and ready to prevent this from happening. In fact, I had brought this question up before and was told by IT that we had special encryption that prevented this from happening. I, as many people, are disappointed that this happened. And then third topic, Resolution 2020-0218, support of Bernards Township's participation in the Mayors for Main Street Alliance. This is something that should have been discussed much sooner than now. I mean sooner by many weeks, since March 21st, 2020 was over 2 months ago when the governor shut the state down. I don't know how effective this Mayor for Main Street will be, since the incident in Bernardsville at Country Home Store at 21 Alcott Square just occurred several days ago, when a closed business was accused of violating the governor's silly mandate. And 4, when are you going to open the parks? Don't be afraid of the governor. Thank you.
Todd, no more?
So those were the 4 things that if anybody needs me to review them, I will. Otherwise, we also have another comment.
That's all right. Let me go down the line here real quick. The public hearing in terms of the ordinance, the resolution for the shared services agreement. Todd, my understanding is tonight we're actually going to be tabling that later to get more information that a number of the township, my township colleagues are looking for, and so we can get more information and some more detailed answers out to the public before we decide we're going to go forward and discuss a shared services agreement. So I would say on that, please sit tight, and we'll probably get that to that, well, definitely by the next township committee meeting. And when we get more information on that, or when we have specifics or information that we can share, we will in fact be doing that. As far as the township computer system, I'd ask Mr. Monaco to go ahead and step in at this point, and if Pat, if you would, just give a brief synopsis of what's going on. I know there's a lot that we can tell you, but at this point in time, since things still aren't complete, there's some of the things that we're kind of holding a little close to the vest, but rest assured we're going to get you those details. But Pat, if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate if you could provide some comment at this point.
Sure, Mayor. So Todd, basically the network disruption we had when IT came in to do their presentation during the summer, what they had alluded to was not that we have encryption that anybody can get a hack or a disruption. I believe what IT was saying was that we felt very reassured that the systems we had in place for backup. And I think that, as the mayor put in his letter, that we were heartened by the measures that we had in place, because we were able to restore all our systems. So no one, as you said, got our stuff. We have all of our data, and it's just a time-consuming process in order to get this together. As a point of reference, I believe it took almost a week for the material to be copied and sent to us. IT's been working around the clock to get this all restored and up in place, and we hope to be 100% in the next 2-3 days. Now, with respect to the bad actors, this is a tedious process, and while we can't say a whole lot, there are professionals that are looking into the forensics as to who, what, where, and why. You're going to want those answers along with everybody else. And so those answers are being parsed through the many files in all these different computers and all the backups. So we are en route to getting everything up and running. Yes, it's a disruption. We're aware of the channels that are down, but just bear with us and just a little patience. We want to do this right. With respect to ransom, and any of that discussion, the investigation is still ongoing. So I can't speak to it, but I think there's positive developments every single day. And when I can speak freely, I think everyone will be proud of the situation and the point that we're at, given these bad actors and what they're trying to do. So I hope that answers your question, Todd.
Can I say something? So what I want to say
Sure.
is, so many people have asked us about this ransom and if we're paying anything. I just want everybody to know that we're all transparent. And so it's not our money that we will be spending, it will be your money that we will be spending. So whatever we have to spend to correct the situation, you certainly will know about it. And I think everyone will agree with that. So I know everybody's worried. We don't know, so,
Oh, yes,
but when we know, they will know what this all costs us.
exactly. Yes, exactly. It'll all be disclosed. It's just we need to do our due diligence right now, and we are working under the professionals and their guidance. So.
Thank you. Todd, I hope that answers your questions for, until we can get you some additional details when we know more. Like Janice just said, when we know, you guys will know. So just, bear with us and let the professionals go through the tedious and meticulous process of getting all that information correct so we can get you the right information. Insofar as your comment with regard to the Mayors for Main Street Alliance, that is actually something that just came up not even a week ago. It was brought to my attention. It was a kind of a quick developing thing, and so quick that there's really nothing set in stone to it right now. All we know is that there's a collective number of elected officials and mayors across various towns in Somerset County, and that has grown to other counties as well, that want to make sure that we can do every single thing that we can possibly do in terms of advocating for all of our businesses, all of our local businesses and residents, to make sure that we get our economy up and running in the most in the most safest, quick, and responsible way. So just that's the general thought. That's what we want to do. We want to be able to collaborate with each other and be advocates for our business to the county government, the state government, the governor's office, and we want to be able to help our businesses. So it's developing as we speak. There's really been nothing set in stone in terms of what that's going to look like. But as things develop, clearly the public will be kept in full view of what that will entail and how we want to go about helping and advocating for our businesses. So I hope that answers a little bit of that question. We'll come to that more, I guess, later when we go through the resolution. What's next, Rhonda? Do we have anything else?
Okay, the last thing was, when are we going to open the parks?
You know what? I really haven't discussed that yet with Chris Hurst or Pat. I know Pat. Do we have any comments on this far along with Jen's and
Yeah. So look, our parks were really never closed. You can do certain functions, and it's predicated on the governor's executive order with respect to if Dot is referring to an all open park, there are executive orders that they're going to prohibit certain things. They seem to be loosening up. You can walk. Right now your playground is going to be closed. Your restrooms were closed. Now they're going to be open. So we're trying to be in keeping with the executive orders. At the same time, you can go into the park. You can walk. Passive recreation. I don't know when the restrictions will be lifted on sports activity or athletic activities, but every day seems to be loosening up a little bit more. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. And I think, we may be hearing something on pools soon. So that'll come into play as the weather gets better as well. Just know that, we are keeping in lockstep with what with what our responsibility is in terms of the governor's executive orders. And, when we can move forward and loosen things up and to the benefit of the public and get it done safely and responsibly, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to do it as soon as we can.
Okay.
Okay.
We have another comment. This is from Rita Zarabara. Let's see, it should be an address. 155 Thackeray Drive. Okay, so we say, good evening. I'd like to request that the Township Committee update residents on the status of the hack of our township systems. While I understand that there may be some things you cannot share if a police investigation is going on, I would think by now you could share some info. What happened? What information or systems were hacked? What info, data, or records were compromised? What information has been restored, and what have we lost or not recovered yet? Was any ransom paid, and if so, by whom? Has this investigation cost the township anything, and if so, how much? Can you confirm that we have insurance and that it covers any hacks like this? What are you doing to ensure that this does not happen again? Also, during this pandemic, the mayor has stated in his letters on more than one occasion that the Township Committee has moved forward with some of the recommendations from the Communications Task Force. Obviously, no one could have predicted a pandemic, but it certainly highlights the need to be prepared and for good, consistent, accurate information. The Rave Alert system has been helpful in getting timely messaging out to the community. I am grateful that you got it up and running. In regards to the other recommendations, I did not see anything in the budget presentations, nor have I heard a discussion at previous meetings to indicate that they are included. Perhaps I missed something. Has there been public discussion on this? As the former chair of the task force, I would like to ask that you address each of these recommendations so we know what the status and anticipated timeline is on each. 1, what is the status of the new website? Where is the planning at? And what is the timeline for the new website to be deployed? Is this in the budget? Have you received bids from outside vendors to design it? 2, have you discussed and considered moving to a cloud-based system to protect relevant and private information? 3, are you planning on instituting an electronic newsletter for residents? If so, when will we see that? 4, have any changes been made to the courtroom technology, the podium, microphone, etc.? 5, are you budgeting for a communications coordinator, or are you dismissing that suggestion? Boy, that would have come in handy, right? Many residents put in a lot of time studying the issues, assessing needs, and presenting findings related to our directive from you. Residents took the time to complete a survey and tell you what they wanted. I would ask that you respond and let us all know what your plans are. I would like to hear from each township committee member of their opinion on these 5 items. Surely these items should be a group decision, right? And if you have decided to reject the recommendations, I think it would be fair to explain the reasoning behind your decision. Thank you all for your efforts. On behalf of Bernards Township, stay well. Rita Zarabara. I don't know if anybody wants to.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, Rita, thank you very much. As always, I appreciate your communications. I get your emails, and I understand that you know, there's a lot of information that you want to know. I would say that yes, we can go through this and you know, get you the answers that we can get you. You know, that have to do with some of the measures, I guess, that we've been that have been budgeted into the process for this year to upgrade the system and whatnot, along with the website and stuff. And but as far as anything else with regard to the website and currently going on what's going on now with the investigation, you know, unfortunately, we've told you all that we can tell you at this point in time. But as things develop and as things continue to open up and we understand more information, we can then be in a position to share that with you and all of our residents. You know, at the appropriate time, you know, once, you know, that information is verified and we understand and we know that it's correct, and we're telling you, you know, what what the truth is, what the information is telling us. So until then, you know, we're kind of keeping it close to the vest. I don't know, Pat, if you want to add anything to that. In terms of the other items that you mentioned here,
Sure,
going down the list, I'm going to take a look at that. I mean, that's clearly in writing. And what I would ask you to do is maybe if you want to hear from all of us, collectively or individually on the township committee, I would ask each one of my colleagues to go ahead and take that and read it and feel free to answer Rita what your position is and how how your thought process is on all of that. And I intend on doing the same. But I don't know, Pat, if you have anything that you want to add at this point with regard to the communication and
Sure, Mayor.
before I do that, again, one
Sure,
last thing.
I can put.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Pat.
I can touch on a couple things. With respect to the website, let's keep in mind that, we budgeted during our meetings in the fall. Recommendations were made in the fall from the group. The Township Committee had listened to the budget. It was included in the budget. In January and February, staff had workshops. We had several workshops relative to setting up some of the internal parameters of what department heads felt they needed. We have conversations with 2 outside vendors. It happens that they are going to be hosted vendors that would host the website. So we are in discussions. It is on track. We hope to have maybe by the next meeting some additional recommendations to get some quotes. And so that is totally on track. With respect to cloud-based systems, there's a lot of systems. Since 2018, we morphed Edmunds Time Track for recreation, Office 365. Another program doesn't come to mind for HR. And these are all cloud-based systems. And not to say that they, couldn't have problems either, but our thought process from 2018 was to have all our eggs in different baskets, so to speak. So all these systems were already on different platforms. With respect to the core technology, I mean, face it, we're on Zoom right now. We really haven't had the opportunity to jump into that area. But we will look to see what we can make in the way of improvements in that area as well. The communications coordinator, look, we had said that we're going to go for the low-hanging fruit first, and it's not to say that wouldn't be a recommendation in the future. With respect to this pandemic, so everyone understands, the chief spokesman for the town during these emergencies are the OEM director and the police chief. So even if we had a coordinator, they are not the official spokesperson for the township. And frankly speaking, I think that they've done an outstanding job in communicating along with the health department in this particular case, who are front and center. The survey with the rave, they came out and they said that the residents wanted information in the way of text forms in different ways. And yeah, we implemented that the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And that was a great idea from the task force that we brought that group in. And it served us well going forward. So, that's kind of where we're at with those points. So I don't know if I missed anything.
Oh, that's yeah. All right. But I would encourage, I don't know if any of my colleagues have anything, any comments they want to make on it, or if, we just, Rita, we've got your list, and if we can go down it and individually answer you, I hope that would suffice. Give us a little time to look.
I'd like to say
what you're saying
something.
exactly, and then. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would like to, no, I said I would like to say something because she asked us to answer her. So I want to say, Rita, thank you so much for emailing us. I think Patty answered a lot of your questions, but I know, excuse me, you asked us to individually answer. As far as that website, we'll work on it. As far as I know, we were looking for a vendor. Going forward, I thought we're going to back up to the iCloud. As far as the newsletter, like Pat said, it was something we were looking into, but it wasn't a priority when there were so many other things. So down the line, the newsletter would be a great idea. I'm going to skip to Cord Tech because he had touched on that. The communications coordinator, you asked for opinion on all these. I think it is a good idea if we had somebody as a part-time, but maybe right now for communications coordinator, maybe it would be a good idea right now if maybe one of us could take on, and I'd be willing to do that, maybe being a communications liaison. Meaning like if Rita has all these questions, I can, as a liaison, I can get all the questions and get all the answers for her. Because we've been having so many residents reach out to us, asking us for communication questions. And then there's so many that need to be addressed. So, maybe that's something we can look into as a township committee, maybe a liaison to communications.
Okay. Thank you, Janice.
Well, if we're all going to answer now, I don't have the recommendations of the communications committee in front of me, but I do believe that I was in favor of all. I appreciate Rita's comments, and I guess we can all sense that, it's week 11. We're all cranky. We're all getting angry. We're all getting frustrated. And I know personally, my private sector experience would have gotten this done yesterday, right? But we need to appropriate the funds and then take the action. And so it can't happen as quickly as we might otherwise want in the private sector versus public sector. With regard to the communications coordinator, I think that is such a good idea and such an important role for us to have. And it's not a comment or a negative or criticism of anyone or anything that anyone is doing, but it's different from building the architecture versus directing the information that's on the site. And so I think, that we do a great job of building and having the information available, but the presentation, that's different than a hardware kind of software programming issue. And so I think that's where we really need the improvement. When we can get to doing that, it's a question. But again, I appreciate the work, and I want to make sure that Rita and the rest of the communication committee knows that we appreciate the work that they did, and we support the recommendations, or at least I support the recommendations.
Right. And just to quickly, I'm going to tag along with what Joe said. I was on the communication task force. I do support the recommendations that were given. We were moving forward to have a new website designed. I think there was a meeting planned right before the pandemic struck. I just want to say kudos to Rita and the other residents who volunteered, who really pushed for the rave system, because that has been instrumental in our ability to communicate with residents. So I'm with you, and I would ask maybe if, because this seems to be a timely time to do this, maybe we can get updates on, where we are with the website. Just a quick update at the next and succeeding township committee meetings. I think that would be helpful.
Thanks, Rita.
Okay, Rita, I'm all for, listen, if we can make our communication better to the residents, to the public, and let them know more, and at the same time, it's not impacting our township staff or personnel or anything like that, and it's actually making things better, I'm absolutely for it. So I will definitely revisit all of the recommendations, because I'll be honest, I don't know them off the top of my head, and I don't have it sitting in front of me. But if there's things on there that we can get better and that we can do better, we're going to do them. And then that's just it. So that's where I stand on that. Hopefully that answered most, if not all, your questions. But I'm all for Mrs. Fields. If there's something that we can discuss later in terms of being a communications liaison or something like that, I'm all ears, and I would be more than willing to discuss that with all my township committee colleagues and see what we come up with.
Yeah, I think I'm just saying maybe it's a good idea one of us can be it. Doesn't have to be me, but when you're always volunteering other people, so you should always volunteer yourself first.
That's right.
Mayor, there was just one other comment, and that was from John Crane had just noted that we are not on channel 35.
Yeah, I think that was already explained that we're not on cable, and we're not on Verizon or Optimum. I think we're just on YouTube. Right. We're just live streaming.
Right, on YouTube.
Yeah. All right.
That's all.
All right, that's it for now. Like I said, if we, and I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Miss Albee, Mr. Edelstein, Miss Arabara, thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate them. We're looking into it, and these are definitely things that we take into consideration, and I appreciate your input. Thank you. Okay, so next up on the agenda, we have Township Committee liaison and board reports and staff comments. So, Mr. Monaco.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to recognize Gina Losiavo, Police Department, who is retiring after 25 years of service to us. So
That's
congratulations. Well done. Well deserved.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna be pulling her resolution from the consent agenda to read it myself. So
Very
thank
nice.
you.
That's all I have. Mayor.
All right. Ms. Pisano.
Nothing for me this evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Harris.
I have a lot to thank you, so bear with me. First of all, I'd like to thank Marie Young for videotaping the Memorial Day ceremony that the Township Committee had on Memorial Day. I also want to thank Paula Axt, Frank Duzick, and Brendan Ty for playing the bagpipes. You can catch that video on hopefully our website today, but our Facebook page. You can hear our mayor's words. He quotes Abraham Lincoln, which president whom I always find inspiring. So thank you. I'd also like to thank Representative Tom Malinowski for hosting many town hall calls, answering questions and advocating on behalf of our towns and local businesses. I want to thank the mayor for signing Tom Malinowski's bipartisan letter to the United States congressional leaders calling for support for local governments in the next coronavirus emergency package. The letter urged the passage of a bill that would provide $250 billion to jurisdictions with less than 500,000 people, recognizing that small town America has been hit just as hard economically during this crisis as our metropolitan areas, and we should receive proportionally the same level of relief. The letter stressed the fact that the counties and municipalities cannot count on the state offer of support as it is facing similar revenue shortfalls and increased expenses. And the federal government has the capacity to help states and local governments of all sizes from falling off a budgetary cliff. It warms my heart when I see and hear about bipartisan efforts, which in my personal opinion are far too rare these days. And they shouldn't be, considering where we all find ourselves right now. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It was my pleasure.
That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Fields.
Good evening. Okay, I'm going to start with an update and reports on the boards that I'm the liaison for. So first, I'm going to say the Board of Education. This morning, the governor agreed to allow outdoor graduation ceremonies that comply with social distancing beginning on July 6th. I know so many of our residents are hoping that Ridge High will have a graduation ceremony. So many residents have reached out to us, the Township Committee, asking us if we can help with that. So I want to say that we hear you, but it's a Board of Education issue. And so we all together will be awaiting their decision on whether or not there will be a Ridge High School graduation ceremony. The Liberty Corner First Aid Squad, things are slowly getting back to normal as far as the squad is concerned and their members. Their call volume was down, but going up a little from the average number that they receive on a monthly basis. They would like to thank everyone involved with the veterans banners. So many of their members, their present members, are being honored, and they really appreciated the banners. So they wanted me to thank you. The Liberty Corner Fire, things are doing well. Their call volume has been down 40%. And unfortunately, all their fundraising events have been canceled. So the fortunate part is that all the residents have been very generous and have still been donating. So they really appreciate your support and thank everyone for continuing to give. And hopefully they'll get back to their fundraising that they're hoping for. And the Deer Commission, it was a very successful year for us. The hunting season ended and it will resume again in September. We haven't had a meeting to go over the year-end reports. So when I receive them and we meet again and I have a more detailed report on how the year went and what transpired, I'll definitely share that with the Township Committee. The Farmstead Art Center, all the programs, the Farmstead has been canceled. They will be doing online classes. They've been working to improve the property with the grant money that they have received. They are continuing to apply for more grant money because money is an issue. They were hoping to have a fundraiser this year, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So any personal donations that they receive are most appreciated. And they will be having a board meeting in June. So I will be attending that meeting via Zoom and I will let everybody know how that goes.
Janice, can I just ask a quick question about the farm?
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, because I
No,
know
sure.
that, I just wanted to ask a quick question about the farmstead, if I might.
About the what?
The farmstead.
Okay, go ahead.
I know that they appeared before us several months ago and they had this grant money that they had to take action by October. Has the taking action been told by the state? Because we still hadn't agreed on the plans for that driveway. And are they in danger of losing that grant money? Just a point to.
No, they can go forward. The problem is they want us to, they do need us to approve the final plan. From the last meeting, remember we wanted to change the entrance.
Yep.
It's kind of been stale because, you know, we need to put them on the agenda. But the problem is if we put them on the agenda, then the residents can't come in person.
Yeah,
So
I
they-
just didn't know whether I wasn't sure whether it was a use it or lose it type of grant. And I thought October was some magic date. So I just wanted to raise that as whether they need to, you know.
They have been asking me when we're going to put them on the agenda. I just,
Okay.
she says it seemed okay. It was just that last part had to be approved.
I believe that the part for the grant has been satisfied. That
Okay.
agreed upon, but then the additional driveway was in addition to beyond the grant.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose money
Yeah.
at the earmark.
No.
Yeah, they got the money.
They
Okay.
got the money. We just need to finish it off. And I thought it was fair to the neighbors and the community that we have it in person and they can show up. They'd like to finalize it, but they're being patient, the farm said with that.
Thank you.
So, also I'd like to mention, on May 24th, Bernards Township celebrated its 260th anniversary. Resident John Crane shared a photo with me of him and his sister, watching the parade go by for the town's bicentennial in 1960. So I don't know if you can see the picture. So there's, you can't really see the picture, but they're sitting on the porch on Finley Avenue. So I thought it would be nice when we get up and running that if we posted their picture on our website to commemorate our town's 260th birthday.
Very good.
And I'm going to mention I'll wait to mention the retirement of our police officer when you read the resolution. Okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But I just want to say in closing to all the residents, I would like to close by saying I appreciate all the residents who reach out to us with their concerns and advice. Please continue to communicate with us. We will continue to address your concerns and implement any of your suggestions when possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think Joan and Janice used up everybody's allotted time. So I'll just be brief and say
They're making it easy for us.
I echo much of what they say. I want to wish Joan a belated happy birthday. And just mentioned, I was going to mention Mr. Crane, and he had also shared that picture with me. And I didn't know he was a time traveler because there's no way John was sitting there 60 years ago on the porch.
Mr. Carpenter, you're on.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Nothing this evening. Boy, just quiet in the background. All right. Is Mr. Bellardo on?
I am, Mayor, and nothing for me this evening either. Everyone stay safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is Mr. Timko on tonight?
No.
No, okay, all right. I guess that just leaves me. I'm gonna echo my colleagues on the Township Committee. Thank you to everybody that just keeps, continuing to, stay the course during this time. We do appreciate the feedback that we get, and wherever we can act, we will do our best to act in terms of, when recommendations and suggestions make sense for the township, it makes sense for the residents. We will obviously, do whatever we can to make everybody's life, I think, as a little easier, especially during these times. So thank you to everyone who commented tonight. I want to also thank Marie Young for her help in coordinating or doing our Memorial Day gathering down in the center of Basking Ridge. I want to thank Jennifer Donahoe, who chaired our Veteran Appreciation Task Force, along with the VFW Post Commander Fred Bueller and all of their volunteers that did our veterans banners and got them done, during this pandemic, during crazy times, and got them done before Memorial Day weekend. So that was very good to see, and I really appreciate it. So thank you to everyone who continues to step up during these times and helping out our residents, when they need it. So thank you, everyone. Okay, I think I'm going to go forward now, and we've got fire and rescue appointments are next.
None this evening, Mayor.
All right, the next order of business is unfinished business. Ordinance number 2446. Rhonda?
This is an ordinance of the Township of Bernards appropriating $4,912,435 for various capital improvements, and this is a public hearing.
All right, seeing this is a public hearing, I'm going to open the public hearing right now and welcome comments. And we'll do it much in the same manner that we did. We'll leave I guess like a 2 or 3 minute time limit, and if we don't hear from anybody immediately, then we'll move on and we will address that later on in the public comment.
Okay, so I did get a comment
Okay.
regarding this. Okay, so this is from Todd Edelstein, Riverside Drive. I know you're going to pass this to Mr. Monaco for an answer, and I know
All right.
this type of resolution is on the agenda every year. This is for, this capital ordinance. Also, I know that it is basically a placeholder for money in the budget for capital improvements, and we don't have to spend the money. But we know this is going to be a tough year, or the year 2021, for the taxpayers. And unless it is for immediate public safety, I don't think this ordinance should go forward as budgeted written. And that is the only comment I have for this ordinance. And Sean is on the line too, just.
Well, then I'm going to defy Mr. Edelstein, and I'm going to pass it to Sean.
So this ordinance, this is just appropriating the balance of the total 2020 capital budget. We did appropriate just over 1 million at budget adoption. So this is the balance of that budget. To Todd's comment, that is the direction that we're taking. That only critical items out of this budget be spent. And again, this does not obligate the township to spend any of the budget. This is just the process to appropriate the balance that was approved at budget adoption.
Thank you. Anything to add, Pat?
No, I agree with a lot of what Todd said, except, with the idea is that we need to fund these things, and he's absolutely right. If we don't need to spend the money, we won't, and that will undoubtedly help us in 2021, which is going to be the real test for all of us.
Got it. Mr. Edelstein, I hope that answered your question.
He said nice.
Thank you. Very good. With that, I will take a motion.
Mayor, I move that ordinance 2446 be adopted and advertised as required by law.
All right. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Is that Janice? I'm sorry, you're not on the, it's got to be Janice. All right. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Rhonda.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
Mayor Baldessari,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, under new business, we have resolution 2020-0209.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table that resolution for the following reasons. For the shared court, as we move forward, there is a buy-in fee. There's no agreement as spelling out what that fee is for, how it was calculated, and the public has the right to know that information. The contract should then be reviewed by an attorney on behalf of Bernards Township. And I know we all would like to move forward with this shared court because it can save us significant money. I think the pandemic threw us and the rest of the world a little bit of a curveball. So we need to take the time to make sure we're protecting the investment we're making in joining a shared court system and to realize future savings. So for that reason, I make a motion to table this.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second to table?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? No, then roll call, Rhonda.
And Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Zita,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
and Mayor Baldessari.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Miss Bizzano, note my recusal on this matter because I am the attorney for both Bernards and Bedminster and have not participated in this matter from the inception.
Thank you.
Mr. Millardo. All right. Next item on the agenda is resolution 2020-0218.
This is in support of Bernards Township's participation in the Mayors for Main Street Alliance.
Yeah, again, I want to reach out. I want to apologize to my colleagues. This kind of came up last minute, the last couple of days. It's something that, mayors over across, a number of municipalities have come together. Since then, it's grown to, I think there's over 12 or 13 that are from, within Somerset County and outside Somerset County. But the purpose of the Mayors for Main Street Alliance is to advocate for the swift and safe reopening of businesses within our respective communities. Direct outreach will be made to the governor's office, urging prompt but prudent action, with clear reopening protocols, as well as asking county, state, and federal officials to do more for our local businesses and residents. So I think in addition, we would also like to coordinate local policies when appropriate, share ideas and collaboratively work together, on a comprehensive regional approach to helping foster economic success of all of our local businesses. So I think this is something that, we all want to see, we all want to make sure things open, safely, but we all want to make sure that things, we begin getting our folks, our businesses back up and running as, we enter our third month of the pandemic. This is something that I wholeheartedly support. There's not too many details, yet in terms of what this group will be doing, but it's going to be, just advocating for our businesses for a safe and quick and responsible reopening. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments that they'd like to share, questions or concerns about this, but I think I thought it was a great initiative. I'm proud to be a part of it, and that Bernards Township was thought of in putting something like this together.
I have some comments, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please, Joe.
Okay, so the first I knew about this Mayor's Main Street was via a press release. And it wasn't discussed amongst the governing body. And Mr. Mayor, I assume always you have good intention, and I have no reason to doubt that now. So please understand that when I make my comments.
Yes.
Also, helping our local businesses is a worthy endeavor. However, I'm now being asked to rubber stamp a decision made by one of us. And I can't do that. Our form of government is by committee. So I vote to uphold our form of government. And Mr. Mayor, as you said, this came up quickly, and aside from a telephone webinar, no specific plans have been made. I read today in the paper that this was a partisan effort to criticize the governor for moving too slowly. As of 12:24 p.m. today, we lost over 11,000 residents. And Mr. Edelstein, I'm not afraid of the governor, but I am afraid of 11 times this many people in New Jersey having lost their lives. I also read of a Rutgers Eagleton poll that was just taken on May 12th that found that 66% of New Jersey residents believe the state is moving at just the right pace to lift restrictions and to open business. Another 19% believe it's too quick, and 16% say it's too slow. Frankly, I think the most effective way to help our local businesses is to shop locally. So therefore, I would encourage our residents, whatever the restrictions are or have been in place, to spend your money if you're fortunate enough to still have a paycheck at our local businesses, and to wear a mask when you go out to prevent an uptick in the virus that will cause another spread and may make it necessary to close businesses back down again. Mr. Mayor, if you're free to disagree, and I understand that you do. And if you want to join your fellow party members, that is your right. I believe we're only a week or two away from the government lifting most of the restrictions anyway. So forgive me, but this seems more politically motivated than I would like. And I'm not convinced that it primarily serves the interests of our local business, but it serves political interests instead, as I find it partisan. And so for that reason, for that second reason, I would have to vote no as well.
I understand, and thank you for your comments, Joan. I respect them, and I respectfully disagree with that. I can speak to you in terms of there's no partisan motivation here. I personally think that I agree with your assessment in terms that we should be spending our money at local businesses, but the amount of local businesses aren't open, and every one of our businesses, as far as I'm concerned, is an essential business. There are people that have gone a long time without a paycheck, without being able to have customers, without being able to put food on the table or pay the bills. And then I see these, I get the phone calls and the emails too. So I see them. And I think that being a responsible and accountable citizenry that we are, there are definitely safety protocols and measures that our residents and our businesses can in fact put in place to prevent the spread while also opening up their businesses and being allowed to, to make a living and put food on the table. So I absolutely respect what you said. This is not political for me at all. I want to see us get back to where we could be, but I want to do it safely and responsibly. And I just want to make sure that we get there. So I appreciate your comments. I respectfully disagree with you. And, you vote how you're going to vote. Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess, Jim, I don't have the same sentiment about it that I think Joan has, but I do struggle a little bit with the lack of clarity as to what the plan is. And I do, wholeheartedly agree with Joan about our form of government versus some of the, I guess, authors of this initiative are in towns where they elect a mayor. And so I don't know, not knowing every action that this group would take or every position that they would advocate, I'd like us to, as a group, make that decision. But I get it. I mean, I support our businesses 100%. I do think there are some aspects of the restrictions that are nonsensical, arbitrary about what has been deemed an essential business. The fact that I'm allowed to go to Walmart to buy a pair of sneakers, but I can't go to the sneaker factory in Bernards Township because they have to stay closed because they're not essential, makes absolutely no sense to me. And they're struggling, and I'm going to be really sad if they can't open again. And so many of our businesses. And the only rationale that I've heard on all of these calls that we've participated in with the county and the state is that local businesses are too hard to police. You can police the big box store, you can't police Main Street. Well, you know what? In Bernards Township, I have 100% confidence that Chief Shimsky and our police force could be there and control anything that would happen that is outside the scope of the social distancing, the wearing of the mask, the percentage of occupancy in any of these buildings. So absolutely, Bernards Township, Main Street should be treated the same as the big box stores, and these businesses should be allowed to open. But I'm not 100%. So I'm really torn in some ways because I just don't know what the mandate of this group is.
Well, like I said before, the mandate of the group or the purpose of the group is to advocate for the swift and safe reopening of businesses within our respective communities. And I don't think there's
to address one of Joan's comments. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, it's fine.
Is the invitation out there to every municipality?
Yes,
and has municipalities that may have a democratically elected mayor or democratically chosen, because that too is partisan. Because if they chose that, well, this bill was authored by Republicans. So we do need to be bipartisan. I agree 100%.
Yeah, listen,
participating is just as partisan as participating in some instances.
Yeah, there are other municipalities that are part of this that are township committee form of government, so they've joined. There's other municipalities that are outside of Somerset County that they want to be part of the solution. They want to be part of talking with their businesses, seeing what they can do to help their businesses get back on their feet, get open, get an advocate, get somebody that's going to be able to advocate for them to get things back up and running and do it safely and responsibly and start putting food back on the table. That's the whole gist here. So
I mean, if there was like in many instances, whether it be as we've passed a resolution in support of something, I think I would be all in favor of that. But I hesitate when I think there's this open mandate and I don't know everything that's going on. So I guess I still haven't made up my mind.
All right. Well,
on this, and so I would love to hear, if the rest of the committee has opinions and how swiftly it's going to act, how swiftly. By the time this group acts, are we already going to see the restrictions lifted on local?
I would hope so.
God, I hope so.
Listen, my hope is that the sooner and the safer we can get reopened, the better.
Yeah,
that's my hope. But all right, so Mrs. Fields.
I was waiting for Mr. Carpenter. He's the senior. Did he want to say something?
Yeah, whoever, whichever.
Okay.
Go first.
Okay. So my view on this is simple. It sounds like a group of mayors getting together and advocating for our businesses to open. It's not superseding what the governor wants. We're going to work with the governor, but it sounds like it's a group of mayors coming together and saying, we want to work with the government and we want to move along the process, because it seems like the process as far as working with the governor's office, everything is moving slowly. So you're saying, here's another hand, we're coming together, we're going to help you, Trenton, we're going to help you move this along and get the businesses open, and what can we do? And we're also going to advocate to our businesses
Well,
what they need to do to open.
yes, and it would actually be, I think, us reaching out to our businesses and our businesses community and getting they're the ones that do their business. What do they need to do in order to make things safe for them? And how will they adhere to the CDC requirements? How will they adhere to the social distancing aspect of it? And I know that these people want to do that. I mean, they are dying to reopen. They're dying to go back to work. You know, I don't think anybody wants to be in the house longer than they have to be anymore. And I'll tell you, I can't wait till my office reopens, but that's not going to be until August. So, we're stuck at home, but I want for us, to be able to work with our businesses here. And if they have, salient, responsible, reasonable, issues that they bring up, safety concerns, measures that they're willing to put in place that don't necessarily apply to any other, a different type of business. We should be listening to them. We should be listening to that and bringing it to our, our county, our state, our governor, just so that they make sure that they have these things taken into consideration when they're going about and they're making these determinations. That's
absolutely agree 100%. But there was, and then maybe the date has moved, but the one document I saw suggested that tomorrow there's a webinar speaking with local businesses. I don't believe that anyone who's organized that conference reached out to the Basking Ridge Business Alliance or, the Bernards Township Regional Chamber of Commerce. I don't think either of those organizations were approached to participate in that webinar. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the date has moved. But if I'm representing those groups here, I want to make sure that they're participating as well.
absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I know Jim and myself have been working with the Basking Ridge Business Alliance. I know I personally have been involved with them, and I know that Jim has. So
Absolutely.
we have been plugged in, and they just had an actual, I don't know if you were on it, Jim, they actually just had a conference call with the Somerset County Business Partnership talking about just these issues.
Yeah, these issues. So they're part of the solution. They're going to be part of our solution because they're our businesses. They're the businesses in town here. So, the more that we can get everybody involved, the more that we can have, a good collaboration of people that are willing to put in the work and put in reasonable measures that accomplish the things that we want to have accomplished to maintain the safety. I just think it's a win-win.
Mayor, could I comment?
Are you done, Mrs. Fields?
Sure.
Sir?
First, I'd like to say thanks so much for your leadership on this, Mayor. Things happen kind of quickly sometimes, and there isn't always time to circle back with the group. And frankly, this isn't a matter of war and peace. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think we should join in, see how it goes. And gosh, if something goes sideways and we don't like what's happening, I guess we could always stop participating. It's just not that big a deal to me, so I support it completely, and I thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments?
Just to
other
follow
discussion?
up on what Janice said. So, Janice, do you know then the Basking Ridge Business Alliance has been invited to this webinar?
No, I don't get involved in their day-to-day businesses. I get involved in what has to do with our town and how we can help them.
Yeah. What webinar are you talking about, Joe? I'm not.
That was in that letter that was sent. Along with the press release.
Oh, all right. See that? Yeah, I think that was just an initial wish list of what they wanted to do. I don't think that that's an actual thing as of yet. I know that was, part of what I think they wanted to do, and it was like a general outline as to how they wanted things to go forward. But I am unaware of anything in concrete that saying that is going to happen right now.
It was more like a proposal of what they plan, what you plan.
Yeah, exactly. It was a
Right.
proposal of what could be or what some of the issues or topics could be. But I think if we decide that this is what we want to, that we want to sign on to this, then this gives us a direct conduit to our businesses and, let's work with them. Let's see what they come up with. And let's be in a position to be able to advocate for them. That's my, that's my end all be all. I want to be in a position to help wherever I can. I think, the one thing that I didn't take into consideration, that Mr. Carpenter said, this thing always goes sideways. Get out of it. But I don't see that being the case. I mean, we're here to advocate on behalf of our businesses, our residents, our township. We're here to try and make things better for them. And I want to be a part of that.
Well, I want to finish by saying that I don't agree with the way that it was approached. It's the, 5 of us deciding on whether or not.
Well, that's, yeah, and that's what we're doing right now.
And you did apologize for that, but I do support the concept because I believe that things do not get done in a timely manner if we don't advocate. Just like the graduation ceremony, I think that decision wouldn't have been made if there weren't people advocating for the governor to make a decision on that. So people know whether or not that was going to transpire. They needed to know. So I think it's a good idea. We're showing our business community that we are going to advocate for them. We stand behind them. We are going to hopefully get a resolution to this. And when a resolution comes, we're going to be here to support them and help them and give them the direction that they need when they open it. Because I know when I talked to the farmstead, they asked for guidance. They said, when we're able to open, are you going to help us in what we need to do and what needs to be transpire, signage and so forth. And I said, yes, we're going to be able to help you. So this is saying to me, we're going to advocate for you and we're going to help you once you get business start going.
Just respectfully, we should do that, and we don't need a resolution to do that. That's what we're here for, to advocate for our residents and the people in our business community. So I don't think we need a resolution to do that. So I'm all in favor of supporting local businesses. Joe, I bet you Sneaker Factory has curbside pickup. So
No, they don't.
They don't. Well, other stores in town who are not.
And I don't know if you've ever bought a pair of sneakers without trying them on.
But other stores that have not been considered essential businesses have done that. So best way is to, if you're fortunate enough to have the paycheck, to go out and spend your money locally. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other comments? No?
No.
All right. With that, I'm going to ask for a motion. Motion.
I move the resolution.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Rhonda.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito,
I abstain.
Ms. Harris,
No.
Ms. Fields.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Mayor Baldessari?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
Well, thank you, everyone. And I appreciate all of your comments. And Joan, I absolutely respect your comments as well. All right, next item up on the agenda is the consent agenda. The items listed within the consent agenda portion of the meeting have been referred to the Township Committee for reading and study. Linked to the posted agenda on the website, are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion of the Township Committee with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is required, the item may be removed from the agenda by Township Committee action and placed on the regular agenda under new business. Before I would ask that resolution 0216, which is item number 7, be removed.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything that they would like removed from the consent agenda?
Mayor, I just have a correction. For the bill list, it should be dated 5/26 and not 5/12.
Okay, noted. Okay. Does anybody have anything else from the consent agenda they would like removed?
No.
No.
Right, I'll take a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Rhonda.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
Mayor Baldessari.
Yes. And
Motion carries.
thank you. And with that, I am going to read Resolution 2020-0216, the commendation on the occasion of your retirement, Gina Luciavo, Police Department. Whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Bernards decides to convey to you an expression of its appreciation and grateful acknowledgement for the valued services rendered by you as a police officer for 25 years, over 22 of which have been with the Township of Bernards. And whereas you began your law enforcement career as a police officer with Branchburg Township Police Department in 1995, before transferring to Bernards Township in 1998. And whereas you have proudly served the police department exemplary in a number of capacities, to include patrol officer, DARE officer, community policing officer, and most recently as a school resource officer at William Annan Middle School. And whereas you have given generously of your time and efforts in a dignified, faithful, and professional manner. And whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Bernards sincerely appreciates the worthwhile contributions you have made toward the material development, communal welfare, safety, and quality of life in Bernards Township. And whereas on your over 22 years of service to Bernards Township, you are retiring to start the next challenging and exciting chapter of your life. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Bernards that its sincere congratulations are expressed on your retirement. Gina, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your service throughout the years, especially when I moved back. You were one of the first people that I got to know at the police department. And I really appreciate the times that we had together, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward on your retirement. So thank you.
Round of applause.
Yes. Thank you, Gina.
I'd like to comment also and congratulate Gina on her service and thank her for the many times she showed up at my mom and dad's house when needed her towards the end of her life. It was always reassuring to get the call and arrive there and find Gina there, calm and in control. So thank you, Gina, and good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Also say something. I want to express my sincere gratitude for her service to our community. It's emotional for me because I remember when we hired her and the town was just so proud. It was our first female officer, first minority. We were so excited to have her join the force. And my children had wonderful experience with her in town. She just made all the children, so many of the children have respected her through the years. My children had great experiences with her and a lot of children in town. She taught at the sheriff's camp, Somerset County Sheriff's Camp. So I just want to say you have touched so many lives and made an incredible difference. I wish you good health and a wonderful future ahead in your retirement, and it's certainly well deserved. Thank you so much for your years of service.
Well said. Thank you. All right.
You need a motion?
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. That's right. Can I get a motion on 0216?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Oops.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right, next item up is D, approval of minutes from April 28th, 2020, the open session minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those? I will take a motion to approve the same.
So moved.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, which brings us up to the second and last public comment. Public comment is being accepted at this virtual meeting from Bernards Township residents via email to municipalclerk@bernards.org during this public comment period. Due to the meeting constraints of the virtual meeting, we request that comments be limited to the current agenda items. To address this body, please email your name, address, and comments to municipalclerk@bernards.org at this time, and they will be read into the record. Again, it's municipalclerk@bernards.org. Public comment is now open.
And we had received another email from Rita Zarabara. Thank you to those of you that answered my questions earlier. It is important for residents to hear from all township committee members on issues. Good communication is essential. Silence is not productive. I understand you can't speak to many issues regarding the computer network hack, but certainly you can tell us if we have insurance for this network disruption or not. Do we have coverage? And if so, what does it cover? Todd asked the same question and it was not answered. And I also do not think I heard a specific answer about what is included in the budget regarding communications. New website? Seems like yes. Well, question mark. 2, communications coordinator. Either it is or it isn't in the budget. 3, electronic newsletter. Either it is or is not in the budget. Thank you, Rita Zarabara.
Thank you, Rita. Pat, do you have anything, is there anything specific there that you can answer? I don't have a copy of the budget in front of me, so I don't know if we've specifically budgeted for some of the items that she's asked for. But in terms of, what was the first one?
Insurance, well, the one was insurance, and then it was the website. If
Yeah,
it's
I think Pat already said the website is in the process of being, that's in the process of being done. That's in the process of being, I guess, sought after and upgraded. So, yes.
I know there's a budgeted amount in the, so she's asking, there is a budget.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't answer the budget.
But even so, I'm not sure if we know specifically what the budget amount for each line item is.
Yeah, so that's just something we could always circle back and provide. But I just don't have it off the top of my head. I don't know what it is. I don't have it in front of me.
Because I know Pat was handling most of that. I know we budgeted it, but I don't know what each line item. Is he on the line?
Sean,
Sean McCarthy here. I can tell you the website is certainly in the budget, and we do have cyber liability coverage that's helping with our network event.
Thank you, Sean.
okay, and now we have a another comment from Lori Albee. Thank you for taking my question. Just to make sure we are all on the same page, fee to give was all paid up front on Venmo. And once you paid, you are given a number and a time to show up. In 2 hours, they've done 300 to 400 cars. They have it down to a science, and it is actually amazing. People pull up, open truck, have a sign with the order number and how much chicken. Kids have spreadsheets. I volunteered and purchased over 30 pounds of chicken. No touching, no cash. But was there ever an executive order from the governor about taking cash? Cash was never even talked about, was always Venmo. Warren sent out a rave announcement about tomorrow. Boxcars, same thing. It sounds like it was the health department holding things up. I think I heard they did it in Bernardsville, and then they pulled permits for Bernardsville and PPAC. Chicken is having issue in Long Hill. It's a health department holdup. Be great if we could support these 2 fundraisers in our own town. Thanks, Lori Albee.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. And yeah, we're gonna revisit that, and we're gonna see what we can do. I think, initially, like I think Pat said, the initial way that they had it set up, I guess, just wasn't compatible with what we how we were interpreting the executive order. But certainly, if things have changed and they comply now, there's absolutely no reason we shouldn't be able to do this. So we will definitely look into this soon. And if we can help out, get up and going as soon as possible, then we'll make it happen. So thank you again for your email. I appreciate it.
Can I say something? Because I think it's really important, because a lot of people don't know. They just assume that we always know everything that's going on. So this, I had heard about this through one of the emails, but I had no clue what people were talking about on the email, about it being an issue. And it wasn't really asked, it was kind of put in parentheses, like I was supposed to know what they were talking about. So my question is this, my comment and question is this, it sounds like this is something that went to the health department. So I want her to know that, and everybody went to the health department, but they didn't share it with us. So we didn't know about it. So we as a committee didn't turn this down. It wasn't even presented to us. And I apologize if I was supposed to know about this, but I never even heard of this or knew about this.
Yeah, no, Janice, this is something that when they, and I guess Pat can correct me if I'm wrong, but when they initially came through and wanted to put something together, or I guess our health department and our administration worked toward putting something together. And for whatever reason, it ended up falling out at the end. And, we weren't aware of it. We weren't, we just didn't, know, because it fell apart. And so apparently they made some adjustments. And that's when I guess Warren had the neighboring town, was it Warren, Joe, that decided the Warren Council, they approached them and they had it fixed at that point. But by that time it was already, dropped from us because we had just moved on and they had moved on. But, if this is something that, we can do, I mean, clearly we want to be in a position to help. And if things are fixed and if things are, according to the executive order in place and they jibe with what our health department is saying and what our health department requires, and of course we're going to be able to do it.
Right.
I think certain things get lost in translation, I think, but in the beginning, I don't think there was any there wasn't any negative purposefully negative reaction from us on, oh, we're not doing this. I just think that it didn't come together and it just kind of fell apart and fell by the wayside, but they straightened it out. And I think it's something now that we're listening to, that it's successful in other towns. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do it.
I think there's really no benefit in looking backwards.
Yeah.
But what I would ask is that our township employees look to be more proactive than just like, nope, that's not going to work. I think whether they were in compliance or not in compliance when they originally approached us, they certainly made it work just days later in Warren Township. And the only towns that they seem to be having a problem with are towns where we are the health department. So I would ask that we examine that and see what we can do to make this work in those towns.
Let's see. We'll move forward with a positive attitude in trying to get things accomplished and collaborate with each other. And I think that's where we can leave it.
Right. But I want to reiterate again, like Joe said, sometimes things go to departments and we don't know about it. So it kind of seemed like at the beginning of her email that she was saying that we didn't want to do it as a TC. So just want residents to know, we don't always know what you ask for or what you present. So if you get an answer and you're not happy with it, you can reach out to us and say, I had somebody today tell me that they asked the health department for something and didn't get an answer, as if I knew about it. So I said, the next time that happens, if you're not happy with an answer, you email the TC and say, this is what happened and I'd like a resolution. So just want residents to know, we don't always know what's going on.
Right. And I just want to add, the health department is autonomous. They have their own rules and regulations. And they enforce them. We can't change one of their rules and regulations. And I'm not talking about this specific issue because I don't know everything that happened. But that's just a reminder. But I say, I would encourage them to go back to the health department and see if they can work something out.
And just from a legal standpoint, I'm hearing of this the first time myself. It had not been presented to me. But then again, as Committeewoman Harris noted, the health department has its own attorney and it's an independent agency. I don't want anyone to think that I was asked for a legal interpretation on this because I was not.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments?
Yes, we have from Todd Epstein, Riverside Drive. He says, yes, I have more. 1, Pat, if you are waiting for the FBI to break this case, I think you may be disappointed. FBI was capable of breaking any ransomware case. You would know it with their major press conference touting their success. As far as I know, there has been no such press conferences ever. I don't think any actors would ever be caught. 2, Pat, the parking lots for the parks are blocked as far as being able to get in to walk. 3, concerning opening businesses, I understand there are people who are so afraid that the mere mention of the virus makes them shake in fear, but we must move forward. There are all sorts of dangers and death, but that is life. And I say this with the knowledge that I had a family member die 3 weeks ago while he was being intubated to be placed on a ventilator. I accept his passing as he would, sad about his death, but must continue to live our life. 4, on Monday, when I was in search of the Memorial Day ceremony, I saw the banners for the first time circling Town Hall and thought they looked very appropriate and a fitting honor for the service people. Thank you.
Is Pat still on the line?
Pat, I can't tell. I see his name here. Pat, are you there? Pat? I don't.
Well, can you hear me? I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Okay, now
Can
we
you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So here I'm talking, nobody can hear me. So I can answer, Todd. Relative to the FBI, I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever going to catch these type of actors, and what I'm asking is just a little patience just to get to the facts of the information. Relative to the parks, the executive order is that 50% of the spaces need to be blocked off. That's why you see that, and hopefully that'll go by the wayside soon as well. And Rhonda, was there anything else for me?
Let's see. FBI, parks, and
Banners.
banners. That the banners look nice.
Well, I'm glad the banners look good because phase 2 will be Veterans Day. So sometime this summer, we'll be going back out. The best advertisement is what you just told us. And we'll be going out with phase 2 on that.
All right. Anything else, Rhonda?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight that did join us. I hope we answered, most, if not all of your questions. And if there's anything specific that you'd like to ask us, feel free to reach out to us either individually or collectively, and we can get back to you accordingly. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.